I still remember the look on my mother's face the first time I told her I wanted to start my own business. She didn't even try to hide her amusement. She laughed. Not a gentle, teasing laugh, but a sharp, dismissive one that cut right through me. You, selling homemade candles from your bedroom? Sweetheart, that's not a business. That's a hobby. You'll grow out of it. I stood there in our small kitchen, the scent of her expensive coffee and judgment thick in the air, my fingers trembling as I clutched the first prototype candle I had poured at 2 a.m. the night before. Lavender and vanilla. I'd even tied a ribbon around it. She didn't even look at it. At that time, I was 23, fresh out of college and jobless. I had applied to countless positions, attended interviews where they smiled politely and told me, "We'll be in touch." Then they never were. My savings were fading, and the pressure from Mom to get a real job only grew heavier. But there was something about creating something with my own hands that made me feel alive, in a way spreadsheets and office cubicles never did. Still, nothing hurt more than seeing my own mother smirk at my dream. I started anyway. I turned my bedroom into a makeshift studio. Wax bags stacked against my closet. Essential oils lined up on my desk like little soldiers. My laptop screen glowing at 3 a.m. while I watched tutorials on wicking, branding, packaging. I sold my first candle to a girl from Instagram, $15. I wanted to scream from excitement. When I told Mom, she just said, $15 won't pay rent. Maybe she was right. But it was still my $15, earned from something I created. Weeks passed, orders trickled in slowly, then faster. Strangers started tagging my products in photos, writing things like obsessed, and these candles smell like heaven. I printed labels by hand, burned my fingers more times than I could count, survived on microwave noodles and iced coffee. I didn't care. I loved every second. Mom didn't. She rolled her eyes at the melting pots left in the sink, at the shipping boxes crowding the hallway. "This house smells like a perfume factory," she'd say, waving her hand dramatically. "When you're ready to grow up, let me know. I have friends at the bank who can get you a real job." But I kept going. One night, around midnight, my father knocked on my door. Quietly, like he used to when I had nightmares as a kid. He handed me a steaming mug of tea and said only, "Your grandmother would have been proud of you." I never forgot that. Months later, I launched my website. Clean, simple, elegant. I named the business Sol and Ember, because every light starts from a spark. The first week, I sold 27 candles. The next 50, then 100. I took photos in natural light by my window, learned how to write captions that felt like poetry, shipped products wrapped in recycled paper and dried flowers. People noticed, but the world didn't change for me. It exploded for her. My mom lost her job. 22 years at the insurance firm, gone overnight. They were downsizing. The severance package wasn't much. The retirement plan she counted on was suddenly out of reach. Dad's health began to fail around the same time. His hands, once steady and strong from woodworking, began to tremble unpredictably. The medical bills stacked up like old newspapers. And for the first time in my life, I saw fear in my mother's eyes. She didn't laugh at my candles anymore. She started asking questions instead. Quiet ones, softly, as if the words tasted strange on her tongue. "How do you ship so many orders? People really pay that much for these? Can I help with anything?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to remind her of that laugh, of the way she shrugged off my dreams like lint from her coat. But Dad needed medication. The mortgage needed paying. And despite everything, she was still my mother. So I said yes. The first time she helped me, she sat at the dining table, carefully placing candles into boxes, her movements slow and awkward. She didn't talk much. Neither did I. But I saw the way her fingers traced the labels, the little handwritten thank you notes I slipped inside each package. Pride, regret, maybe both. Then came the day I will never forget. She came into my room, my studio, now filled with shelves of inventory, and whispered, "I need money for your father's prescription, just until I find work." There was no laughter left in her voice, only exhaustion. I transferred the money without saying a word. A week later, she asked me if I could hire her, not as my mother, but as an employee. And that's when it hit me. The same business she mocked, the one she said would never work, was now paying her bills. Keeping our lights on, keeping food on our table, keeping Dad alive. She looked at me differently after that. Like she was seeing me for the first time, not as her daughter to criticize, but as a woman who built something from nothing. Something real. At first, my mother treated it like charity work, as if she were just helping out her daughter. But slowly, reality settled in. This wasn't a favor. This was a job. And I was her boss. She printed shipping labels. She organized inventory. She even learned how to pour wax without burning it. Every morning, she brewed 2 cups of coffee instead of 1. Left one on my desk quietly as a peace offering. She never apologized in words, but in every careful movement, every late night helping me pack boxes, every soft sigh when she thought I wasn't listening, I heard it. I'm sorry, but I didn't say I forgave her. Not yet. Orders kept rising. We moved from my bedroom to the garage. Then from the garage to a rented studio downtown with white brick walls and sunlight that spilled across the floors like honey. Sol and Ember became more than candles. It became a brand. A story people connected with. Every scent had a memory attached. Rain on pavement, warm vanilla mornings, pine forests in winter. People weren't just buying candles. They were buying comfort. My mother was the one who suggested adding gift sets. People love feeling like something was made just for them, she said while tying ribbons smoother than I ever could. She was right. Sales doubled that month, but the biggest shift wasn't in business. It was in her. One evening, as we sat at the kitchen table labeling jars, she asked, almost in a whisper, "Do you remember the day I laughed at you?" I froze. My fingers tightened around the roll of twine. "Yes," I said. She nodded, swallowing hard. "I thought I was protecting you. I didn't want you to get hurt chasing something unstable. I didn't realize I was the one hurting you." Her voice cracked. "I'm proud of you, more than I've ever said. I'm sorry it took me so long." For a moment I didn't speak. I just watched the woman who raised me, who taught me how to braid my hair, how to balance a checkbook, how to be strong, sit across from me humbled, fragile, but honest. And in that silence, I realized something. I didn't need her apology to heal. I had already healed when I chose to believe in myself over her doubt. I reached across the table and placed my hand over hers. "Thank you," I said simply. It was enough. By winter, we had 3 employees, a photographer, a social media manager, and a waiting list of stores wanting to stock our products. My mother, once the loudest critic, was now the most devoted member of the team. She organized our finances, handled supplier calls, even answered customer emails with a politeness I didn't know she possessed. One morning, I walked into the studio and found her teaching our new intern how to pack the Midnight Garden collection properly. No, sweetheart," she said gently. "Slide the tissue paper from the corners inward. It feels more like a gift that way." The intern nodded, impressed. My mother didn't see me watching from the doorway, smiling. But life has a strange way of repeating moments, only differently. One afternoon, my mother and I were invited to speak at a local entrepreneurship event. Me as the founder, her as part of the business journey. She spent hours choosing an outfit, even ironed her blouse twice. On stage, under soft yellow lights, I talked about starting with nothing but a vision and a credit card that almost maxed out. People nodded, some wiped tears. Then the moderator turned to my mother and asked, "What did you think when your daughter said she wanted to start this business?" She hesitated, looked at me, then spoke. "I laughed at her," she said simply. The room shifted, a hush falling over the audience. I was scared she would fail, but I didn't realize that not believing in her hurt more than failure ever could. "Today," her voice trembled, "this business pays our bills. It saved our home. It saved our family. And it taught me that sometimes, the people we love the most are the ones we must learn to trust." The audience stood and clapped. Not for me, for her. And I think that meant more to me than any sales milestone. Last week I came home from a supplier meeting and found my mother asleep on the couch, glasses slipping down her nose, laptop still open. On the screen was a spreadsheet titled Employee Holiday Bonuses. She had listed every team member, their strengths, their struggles, their favorite snacks. Beside each name was a handwritten note. Thank her for staying late. He needs encouragement. She's been quiet lately. Ask if she's okay. My eyes stung. This woman, the same one who once mocked my dream, had become the heart of it. That night, I covered her with a blanket, closed her laptop gently and whispered, "We made it. Mom." She didn't hear me, but maybe she didn't have to. Today, Sol and Ember candles sit on shelves in over 60 boutiques. We ship thousands of orders every month. We donate a portion of sales to women trying to start small businesses, the way I once did. And every time a thank you letter arrives from someone saying, "Your story gave me courage," I forward it to my mother. I still remember her words from that day in the kitchen. Candles won't pay rent. Now, they pay her mortgage. They pay her medical bills. They put food on our table. They sent Dad to physical therapy. They gave us a second chance. Sometimes Mom still gets quiet when she walks past shelves of boxed orders. She pauses, touches the labels, and says softly, "I can't believe this is yours." I always smile and correct her. Ours. Because forgiveness isn't forgetting what someone did, it's choosing to build something better anyway. And the sweetest revenge isn't anger, it's success so bright that even those who doubted you can't help but stand in its light.